Hey, how you doing? Brian Cain, mental performance coach and host of the Coaching Matters group coaching program sponsored by Fundraising University. In this video, you're going to get a chance to see me work with Scottsdale Community College Baseball in Scottsdale, Arizona, talking about how to give yourself the best chance for success through mental performance training and goal setting. We're going to talk about the 4-step goal formula and how that fits in helping you achieve your goals. So if you would, please go ahead and give this video a like, give it a subscribe, leave a comment as you watch the video, and let's get after it with Scottsdale Community College Baseball talking about goal setting. What's happening, fellas? Super excited to be able to join you guys today, man. It's working with Scottsdale Community College Baseball. Good to see you guys. My name is Brian Cain. I'm a mental performance coach. Had a lot of great experiences in the game of baseball, and myself played at the University of Vermont, was a right-handed pitcher there, and actually got my number retired. So if you guys would clap it up for me right out of the chute, man, I need a little stroke, you know, but you're probably going, I can't believe this guy's making us clap it up for him like 1 minute into the call. Look, here's the deal, man. The only reason I got my number retired at Vermont was they cut the baseball program, right? No more baseball at the University of Vermont. We all got our numbers retired. And from there, I went looking, though, as a college baseball player who struggled as a pitcher, you know, looking for what was the difference? Like, why did I struggle? What would have made a difference? And one day changed my life, man. I came across a book on July 4th, 2000. I was at a Barnes & Noble in Boston, Massachusetts, right across from Fenway Park. I grew up in Massachusetts. I now live in Paradise Valley, Arizona, not very far from you guys. And I walked into the store, and there was a book called Heads Up Baseball, which I would encourage every person who is a competitor, but especially if you're a baseball player, to pick up this book right here, Heads Up Baseball. And I always like to start my first calls by showing this book because this book changed my life to the point where I have the author's face tattooed on my heart. Ken Ravizza, the author of Heads Up Baseball, was a professor at Cal State Fullerton, and he was working with the Dodgers, working with the Rays, working with the Angels. And I picked up that book, man. And as I'm going into my senior year of college, right, not much older than you guys, I'm flipping through it, and it's saying things like, if you're the guy who focuses on trying to get hitters out as a pitcher, you need to learn to focus on making a pitch, because making the pitch that gets the hitter out is what you actually can control, not getting the hitter out. I said, well, I've never done that. He says, if you're the guy who your entire life, people have been telling you you need to learn how to relax, but no one's told you how, this book is for you. I said, man, I got to buy that. Everybody tells me I got to slow down, I got to relax, but I don't know how to do it. So I end up getting the book Heads Up Baseball. Completely changes my life. And I end up going to Cal State Fullerton from the University of Vermont to do a master's there in sports psychology. So I was there for 2 years wanting to be a baseball coach, not wanting to be a mental performance coach. And when I was there, at Cal State Fullerton, we had just gotten off a World Series run in 2001 as I was working with the Fullerton baseball team. 2002, we're pretty good. We lose first 2 games of a regional. 2003, we're the number 1 team in the country, wire to wire for the regular season. We go to Omaha with we're 50-9. And we beat LSU, beat Stanford, and then Stanford comes back and beats us twice. Rice ends up winning the national championship in 03. Fullerton wins the national championship in 04. And what I realized in that time at Cal State Fullerton, working with Ken Ravizza, seeing every day as a grad assistant with the baseball program how the Fullerton team would implement the mental game, what I saw was that the best team doesn't win. It's the team who plays the best. The 2003 team might have been one of the best college baseball teams ever assembled. The 2004 team started the year 15-16. How did they become a national championship winning program in 04? If I had to summarize it in 2 words, culture in habits. And that's what I want to spend time talking about today with you guys is, as a mental performance coach for the last 20 years, since graduating from Cal State Fullerton, man, I've been very, very privileged to work with Team USA, the college national team in 2013, very privileged to have over 1,000 players get drafted into pro baseball. And I only know it's over 1,000 because every year when the draft comes out, I look at it, I take every player who has gone through one of my programs or who I have had on a call like this or worked with one-on-one or in a team setting, I put them on an Excel sheet. That list includes 4 Cy Young Award winners and Jake Arrieta, David Price, Trevor Bauer, and now Corbin Burns. It includes, guys who you've heard like Justin Turner, like Matt Chapman, Alex Bregman, Bobby Witt Jr., who was just named minor league baseball player of the year. I had a chance to start with since he was a sophomore in high school at Colleyville Heritage. And as a mental performance coach, I have the privilege of working with, some of the top college baseball programs in the country. And what I want to do with you guys today is I want to share with you What is it that I've learned in 20 years of doing this work with some of the best coaches and baseball players on the planet? What is it that I've learned that can help you guys to accomplish your goals around culture and around habits? So I've put together, if you guys open up the chat here, I've put together kind of a notes sheet that I want to follow. So if you open up the Zoom chat, I'll post a link to this here. And if you click on that link, which I'll share my screen and be able to walk you through this here. So if we click on that link there, it's going to take you to this Google Doc. So with this Google Doc, what I want you guys to do is go up here and hit File, Make a Copy. The reason why I wanted you to do these Zoom calls on a computer, and I always recommend doing Zoom calls on a computer because it's easier to actually do the work on the call. So if you go File, Make a Copy, then what you'll have is you'll have your own access to this document where you can take notes. Right now, this is a master document, Coach Alex, that I'll share with you, right? So you can edit it and do with it what you like. But for the players, I want you guys to have a copy of this. So give me a quick little thumbs up if you guys have made your own copy and you're ready to go. Okay, fantastic. So let's roll through this, guys. And, I think in 20 years of doing this work in sports psychology and mental performance coaching, if I were to summarize everything I've learned in 20 years, personal experience, sharing the experience with a guy like Ken Ravizza or a Harvey Dorfman or some of the big names in mental game of baseball who are mentors of mine, what would I say if I could give you one strategy? And please write this down if you would, this acronym. A plus S plus GOYA equals R. A plus S plus GOYA equals R. It stands for ability plus strategy plus get off your anatomy, because you got to do the work, equals results. Okay. So I'm of the belief that you have the ability inside of you. You're not lacking the ability, you're blocking the ability to close the gap from where you are to where you want to be. We all have this gap, where I am, where I want to go. We're going to close that gap. How we're going to close that gap is in one word, strategy. And the two strategies we're talking about today are culture and habits, right? Goal setting around culture and goal setting with your habits. So I want to share with you the strategies, things that you can actually do in the mental game to get the results, but you got to get off your anatomy and you got to do it. Okay. So I'm assuming you're going to do it. As long as I give you the right strategy, you're going to put the work in. First strategy we talked about, again, pick up the book Heads Up Baseball by Dr. Ken Ravizza. Whether you get Heads Up Baseball 1 or 2, I would say the first thing to do is pick up Heads Up Baseball 1. That's the book that literally changed my life. And again, to the point where I have the author's face tattooed on my heart. Let's talk about the other strategy I want to share with you today called the 4-step goal formula. The 4-step goal formula, again, the 4-step goal formula is the number one strategy I would share with you that as a college baseball player or an athlete at any level, a coach at any level, if you understand these 4 steps, you understand how player development happens. So step 1 is set your intention. Your intention is, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? How, if we're talking about closing that gap from where you are to where you want to be, what does where you want to be look like? So when we talk about culture and habits as it relates to goals, as a head coach, Alex, you have a culture goal of this is what I want my program to look like. This is how I want my guys to behave. This is what I want the experience to be like. And then as individual players, you guys have goals you want of, being a first team All-American, getting Division I college baseball, playing professionally, being a starter, whatever your goal is, coming back from a rehab, getting healthy. And both of those goals, you personally and for your program, require that we have great habits and systems. Okay. Goals are outcomes we achieve. Systems are how we get there. So if we're saying there's a gap, here's the gap. Here's where I am. Here's where I want to go. I close that gap with a map. That map is your player development plan. So as it relates to the mental game, your player development plan to close that gap can be this 4-step goal formula. So step 1, though, is you got to set your intention. You got to know where you want to go. Step 2 is you got to schedule it, because what you schedule gets done. We talk about on the diamond, compete one pitch at a time, pitch by pitch. In life, we compete one block at a time, block by block. And I'll show you an example of what a high-level college baseball calendar and a high-level professional baseball calendar looks like so that you have an example to go, oh, okay, now I get it. This is what it looks like to be an SEC pitcher who's going to be a first-round pick. This is what it looks like to be a Cy Young Award winner. We have those calendars. We know what they look like. Success leaves clues. You don't have to duplicate the wheel. You just have to take it and sharpen it to make it work for you and your ride. Okay, schedule it. Step 3 is to measure it. And we're going to measure your habits and the things that you do on a daily basis. This is the number one thing that you can do coming off of this call. So let's go ahead and make sure you guys have the app Habit Share installed. And if you click on this link, that will take you to an app to install on your phone called Habit Share. If you go into the App Store, just search for Habit Share and you'll see it. And I'll walk you through how we're going to use that. So let's make sure you have Habit Share. Step 4 is we're going to reflect and refocus. And we're going to take a lesson, excuse me, from Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest competitors of all time, talking about how to reflect after a performance, how to learn from that performance. So the reason why reflection and refocusing is so important is what I call the 3-step performance process. Okay. So if there's a 3-step performance process, and that's going to look like this. Number 1 is I prepare. We're always preparing for the next meeting, right? We're preparing, for my case, for the next coaching session. For your case, coach, the next practice. For you guys as players, I'm preparing for the next day's workout, the next class I have, etc. We prepare. Number 2, we perform. We go get after it. We compete. Step 3, which gets the least amount of attention, is we reflect. And reflection is where the learning happens, right? Reflection is after I compete, I look back and go, what happened? What did I do well? What do I want to do better? How am I going to do it better? So I want to get you guys into, it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be really in depth. I'm not saying write a journal where you write 3 pages every day. I'm saying ask yourself 3 questions. What did I do well today? What do I want to do better tomorrow? How am I going to do it? Well, better how? And you'll hear Kobe Bryant talk about that. My friend Zach Sorensen, who's the mental performance coach for your world champion Atlanta Braves, he does it well, better how with his players on, the position players typically on a weekly basis and the pitchers after every outing. So let's come back up to the top here. Okay. If we understand, we're talking about strategy. And if we want to improve our performance by improving strategy, let's first start with setting your intention. Okay. Setting your goals. And if we talk about goals, I want to kind of simplify it for you and understanding we have a thing called telescope goals and microscope goals. Okay. Telescope goals are, what do I want to accomplish in the next year, 3 years, 5 years for my entire coaching or playing career? Microscope goals, what's my next 24 hours look like? What's my next week look like? I think as coaches and athletes, we overvalue telescope goals, dramatically undervalue microscope goals. Show me your calendar and I will show you what your telescope goal is going to be. Show me how tight you keep your calendar and where you're putting your time, and I'll show you what your results are going to be. So we got to have the telescope goal because we got to know where we want to go. We don't know what's the vision. Do I want to play pro ball? Do I want to be a major leaguer? Do I want to be a major league all-star? Do I want to make the team? Do I want to be a starter? Do I want to be an All-American? What do I want to be? And then the microscope goal is, what do I need to do in the next 24 hours to take one step in that direction? Make sense? Telescope, microscope. Hammer the microscope goal. Second part of goal setting, process versus outcome goals. An outcome goal is something that you want that you don't have complete control over. You do not control as a player being a starter. You influence it. Coach decides on the lineup. You influence being a starter, but you have complete control over becoming a better player. So when I work with programs like the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss, work with East Carolina, in their dugout, they have a sign that says player over starter, because everybody on every college baseball team in America wants to be a starter. But you got to want to be a better player more than you want to be a starter, because the pathway to becoming a starter is becoming a better player. So the process goal is something within your control. A process goal would be, I'm going to do arm care 4 days a week. A process goal would be, I'm going to play long toss 3 days a week. I'm making things up here, numbers, right? I'm going to do J bands 5 days a week. I'm going to do heavy balls, drive line 3 days a week. Process goals. Outcome goal, I want to gain 3 miles an hour in 2022. So the outcomes motivate us, but the process is what gets us there. So the way that I want you guys to kind of keep track of your your telescope, microscope goals, your process and outcome goals, right? The deep goal setting process is called the MVP process. So if we look at a personal MVP process here, okay, let's go start personal and go to team. I'm going to take this template, which you guys can link to in your notes. I'll also drop it here inside of our chat. But this template here is a personal MVP process. MVP stands for mission, vision, principles. Okay, mission is, what do I want on my gravestone? As a coach, Alex, what do I want my players to say about me when I retire, right? As a player, what do I want my teammates to say about me at the end of the season? What do I want to look back at the end of my life and say, you know what? I was successful because I did this. And for this player here as a template, men, it's called inspire, impact, and give back to others. And I'm going to start a program. I'm probably going to finish it before 2022. If I do, Alex, I'll make sure I send it to you. It's going to be called Mission Driven. And the reason why I think the program being mission driven is so important is that if you're not driven by a mission, you're going to fall for something that is not your mission, right? And so many people will have a mission statement, but then they don't live on a mission. And my goal for you guys is you are very clear with what your mission is, and then you live that mission every single day. You have a mission and you are on a mission. That becomes key. But you got to have the mission that's bigger than I want to be a Major League Baseball player. Well, why? I want to make a lot of money. Well, why? Because I can provide for my family. Well, why? You keep asking yourself why like 7 times. Literally, I call it the 7 steps to why, and you'll come back to a bigger reason of serving other people, giving back to the game, growing the game of baseball, being a mentor, sharing your gifts with others, providing the life that you always wanted, right? You'll come up with what your mission is. Second thing is your vision. Now, when we talk about life vision here, men, this is your telescope goal. So a telescope goal might be graduate from college, play pro ball or Major League Baseball, live a debt-free life, live financially responsible, debt-free, so you can work for pleasure versus profit, be an exemplary husband, father, or person. Your life vision, you make it whatever you want. And without a vision, your career are going to perish. So you have to have a vision. Without a vision, the people perish. You've got to have a vision. And that vision is like your resume. What do I want to accomplish? So mission is what's on my gravestone? How do I want to be known? Vision is what do I want to accomplish? What's on my resume? And the life vision is the telescope. Then, gentlemen, we work it into a quarterly vision. And when we're talking about a quarterly vision as a college baseball player, so as an entrepreneur, I look at my life in quarters. January, February, March, quarter 1. April, May, June, quarter 2, right? 4 quarters in a year. As a baseball player, your rhythm is probably going to be more like this. It's probably not going to be quarterly. It's probably going to be January until August or January until June, my college baseball season. Another one, June until September, my summer season. Another one, September until maybe Thanksgiving, my fall season. Thanksgiving until January, my winter season. So your 4 cycles are going to be cyclical with the academic year in your baseball calendar. When I say quarterly, I want you just to not think about for 3 months. I want you to think about the quarters of your life. Does that make sense? Okay. So for quarterly vision, we have 2 areas, a personal area and a professional area. You might read this for personal as person and student. And you might read this down here, professional as baseball player. So you're going to set goals for yourself. What are my goals? Do I have in these main 2 categories, person, player. These subcategories here where I have family, friends, financial, routines, education, you can make those whatever you want. So Alex, you might have a team of 50 players and they might have all different categories of what's important to them. As long as you have categories, I'm not as concerned about what the categories are, just as long as you have them underneath personal and player. So you'll see some examples here that I think might fit for you. So we have mission. What's on my gravestone? Life vision. What do I want for my life as I look into the telescope for the next, 50 years? For you guys, it might be more like the next 5 years, right? The older you get, the longer that vision gets, man. You're trying to extend this life, right? And then as we get into like quarterly vision, what do I want for myself as a person and a student for the next quarter? What do I want as a baseball player for the next quarter? Then you get into your core principles. Core principles are like character traits or core values. Who are you? Vision, or let's say mission. How do I want to be known? Vision. What do I want to accomplish? Principles. When I look inside of myself and I tear myself open and look in, who am I? Who is it that I need to be to close that gap? Right? The vision is where I want to go. The principles are how I'm going to behave every day to help get there. So if you're talking about yourself personally, right? I remember sitting in a sauna with a UFC world champion, a guy named Vitor Belfort. He's getting ready to fight for a UFC title against Chris Weidman. We're sitting in a sauna at the Mandalay Bay the day before, right? You do the weigh-ins, and these guys cut a lot of weight in the sauna before they go to weigh in. And I remember sitting there with Vitor, who's one of the best mixed martial arts fighters ever. And I said, champ, what do you know now at 38 you wish you could tell yourself at 18? I asked, call it the $1 million question. What do you know now you wish you knew then? And he looked at me and he said, Brian, the biggest difference that I would go back and I would tell the Vitor of 18 years old is that a boy lives out of preference. A man lives out of principle. And I wish I became a man at an earlier age in life. And I was like, damn, I didn't expect that, but that's a hell of an answer, right? So when we're talking about being a man, right, maturing, taking great steps in your career, be principle driven, not preference driven. Preference driven is what do I feel like in the moment? I feel like going out to Old Town Scottsdale every night. Principle driven. I'm going to go to bed, get up and attack the day and work out and do what I need to do to close the gap to get me where I want to go. Because I'm not going to fall for what I want in the moment for what I want most. You have to give up a lot of times, gentlemen. You have to give up what you want in the moment for what you want most. But this requires you have a vision and you know what you want most. Because there's a lot of players that go through college and they got no idea what they want other than they get distracted by their phone. They get distracted by other people on campus. They get distracted by the nightlife. The next thing you know, boom, the career's over and they go, damn, I got regret. MVP process helps you eliminate some of that regret because it gives you a plan for where you want to go to close that gap. And your core principles are a part of that plan. So my core principles, if you guys look at any of my stuff on social media, you should see 3 green apples. Okay. Apple, my core principles: accountability, process, present, love, and energy. When I interact with people, whether it's my wife, whether it's people on my team, whether it's you all today, I want at the end of the call, people go, hey, you worked with Brian Cain today. How was that? Man, that guy gives, he's accountable to what he says he's going to do. He creates a process to help simplify. He's present with who he's working with. He's always where his feet are. Man, that guy loves what he does. He loves the people he works with. And that guy brings juice and brings energy. That's how I want to be known. The three green apples, my personal mission: educate, empower, energize other people to be their best. So the 3 green apples stand for educate, empower, and energize, which is my mission. And the green apple is accountability, process, present, love, and energy. So for me, when I see the green apple, it reminds me to educate, empower, energize, and live out of a set of core principles. Make sense there? We're going to talk about what this looks like for you guys. And a simple thing, if you don't know what your core principles are, just pick one. Just pick one. Just pick a set and go with it. Pick 3 to 5. Maybe you pick one. Maybe your core principle is discipline. And as you evolve as a person, and as this program evolves, Alex, as a program, your core principles might change a little bit. But the problem is, let's just get started. Okay. It's the start that stops most people. We got to know who we are. We're going to talk about this in a team setting here in a moment. The next piece is, what's your one word? I call it your one word brand. Your one word brand would be for 2022. Okay. Or for the next time period, let's call this part of the season, the winter season. What's one word that if you would live intentionally, it would give you the best chance for success? I picked up this idea from my friend John Gordon in his book, One Word Focus. The word that I have is offense. Like, I want to play offense, and playing offense is being intentional with your time, doing what you said you were going to do. Your yes means yes, your no means no, and you call the shots, you dictate the schedule. To me, that's playing offense. When I have a detailed calendar, I'm playing offense. When I don't, life is happening to me. So in terms of one word here, let's go to Colin Cummings. If you join us here, bro, what is one word focus for you? Let's kind of go around and talk about this right now. If you had one word that you said, if I could live this as we move forward in this winter season, I feel like this would give me the best chance for success. CC, what do you got, brother?
Say development.
Talk about that. Why is development important for you?
I want to be the best baseball player I can coming into the season. I want to see where I can be and how good I can be. So that's my main goal. I want to be the best baseball player I can so I can perform the best I can for my team and for me.
Beautiful.
So.
Good. So development is the one word. Here's what I want you guys to do. Let's have you all go into the chat, and I want you to post what that one word is for you. And I want to say, let's go to Coach Alex. Coach Alex, what's one word for you? Colin talked about development. What would be one word for you as the head coach of the Scottsdale Community College baseball program that if you lived, you feel like you'd be the best version of you?
For me,
yeah,
in the winter season right now, it's discipline. It's making sure that I do exactly what we need to do to prepare, for our spring season, and our practices, which start on January the 10th, which leading into games, it's discipline, making sure that everything gets done over the holiday season, making sure that I'm disciplined enough to say no, to what I need to say no to and say yes to, the family time that is much needed at this point. So that's the word I'd go with.
Beautiful. Love that. And Derek, if you would join us, please. You mentioned the word lead. Why is leading important for you during this winter time?
Yeah, I think just being like a third-year guy, people are getting through their finals this last week, and just trying to lead guys to keep pushing through to make sure they're getting those grades done and making sure they're getting their work done over the fall to come into the season. I think that's an important thing for us, to not slack off and help kids realize like we need this time. Obviously go see your family and whatnot, but we need to make sure we're still working.
Love it. Love it. And Derek, the thing I love about the word leadership is if you're on an airplane, as I'm getting ready to fly to Mexico tomorrow for a week with my wife, which I'm thrilled about, but as if I get on this airplane and let's say the cabin pressure changes and they drop those masks, what do they say? They say, put your mask on first, right? Don't help the other people until you take care of yourself. That's what the MVP process does. Is the MVP process allows you to have something to go to say, this is how I put my oxygen mask on. This is how I take care of myself. And if you don't have goals that are very clear, written down and in front of you, what happens is what just happened to my camera. Boop. Where do I go? What do I do? Where am I going? I get lost, right? The MVP process is my GPS for where I want to go and what I want to do. So once you have that one word brand, which you guys just came up with, then you come up with your definition of success. If you don't have a definition of success, the scoreboard will do it for you. So you have to define success for yourself. What does that look like? Okay. So Alex, one of the things I would encourage is in this off season, I shouldn't say off season because there is no off season. In this winter season, we're going to win the winter. I want you maybe to have your players go through and fill this out. And this can be a really good kind of goal setting and personal sort of development plan for your team. What we would do then is look at the team MVP process. And here's an example that I have from a team in the SEC from LSU. And this would be an example of a team MVP process. Same concept. What's the team mission? Well, in this program, the team mission for the LSU softball program is one of the top in the country, is to be Tigers for life. That's what the head coach, Beth Torino, wants out of her players when they leave. And this is what Tigers means to them. Trust, integrity, grit, energy, relentless, and selfless, defined as belief in our process, doing what's right, long-term perseverance, bringing the juice, right? Always the attacker and putting LS over you. So their mission is to literally create young women in college that live out of a set of core principles. The vision is we want to win the moment. And in softball and in baseball, every pitch is a moment. Every practice is a moment. This call is a moment. It's a series of moments. So win the moment, win the series, win the conference, win 45 games, make host win a regional, make host win a super, go to Oklahoma City, win the national championship, graduate from LSU, live Tigers for life. It is very clear when you walk in that program that every day we are focused on winning the moment, because winning the moment is the process to get us to where we want to go. And the one piece that's missing right now is to win the national championship, but it's coming because everything happens twice, first in your mind, then in reality. So we have to put down on paper, okay, two things. Where are we going? This is the vision. But also put down on paper, how do we get there? What are we doing today? Focus on winning the moment. And how do we behave? Tigers. When we talk about behavior, after we create the team MVP, we come down to above the line and below the line behavior. It's funny that this concept comes from a book written by Urban Meyer, who just got fired by the Jaguars like a couple of days ago. But the concept of above the line and below the line is brilliant. Okay. If you say as a person, as a student, and as a player, what is above the line behavior? Above the line behavior is winning behavior. It allows me to get closer to who I want to be. It helps me to close that gap. Below the line behavior is losing behavior. It's what causes me to fall short of my goals. It's what causes me to have regret. So what we want to do, Coach Alex, is in the program, you identify, hey, as the head coach here for years, this is what the most successful people, student, and players have done. These are their above the line behaviors. These are the behaviors that they have done that have caused them to have regret. The players who have not gone on, the players who have fallen short of their potential, the players who we look at and go, that guy just couldn't figure it out. This is what they did. And if you want to be successful, here's a great story. As you guys know, there was a baseball player at Arizona State a couple years ago named Hunter Bishop. Hunter Bishop was one of the top players in college baseball. He was a first-round pick by the San Francisco Giants. I had a chance to work with Hunter going into his junior year. Hunter gets drafted first round. He goes from Arizona State. I live in Paradise Valley. He comes to the house before they send him off to short season A with the San Francisco Giants. So we meet before he goes. And we're having a conversation talking about the difference between college and pro ball. And in college ball, you have structure and you have coaches and you have a practice plan and you have classes and your schedule is really structured. When you get into pro ball, you're kind of on an island by yourself and you either sink or swim. Like you got to have a lot of discipline and a lot of process and a lot of structure. He goes, man, that's kind of like what Tom was telling me. I go, Tom? Who's Tom? He goes, oh, I was texting with Tom Brady in the parking lot before I walked in your house. I said, what? He goes, yeah, Tom Brady and him went to the same high school. And his brother, Braden Bishop, plays for the Mariners. They had gotten connected somehow through high school football. And he said, yeah, Tom Brady texted me when I got drafted and said, hey, congrats on another Jay Sarah player getting drafted in the first round. Let me know if I can help you, Hunter. I said, when's the last time you texted me? He goes, about 5 minutes before I walked in your house. I said, send him this question. Ask Tom Brady the $1 million question. What do you know now you wish you knew when you got drafted out of Michigan and you were a first-year quarterback in the NFL? Here's his answer. Hunter, as quickly as you can, do more good, find out what's good, find out what's bad. Do more good, less bad. You'll have a great career. Simple, but simple isn't easy, right? Tom Brady's basically saying, Hunter, find out what's above the line behavior, find out what's below the line behavior. Do more above the line, less below the line. You'll have a great career. Simple, not easy, but you have to be intentional about identifying what those behaviors are. So you have your personal MVP, your goals. We have the program MVP. Where do we want to go as a program? Once you set that intention, the next step is, right? The next step after you set that intention of your MVP is you're going to schedule it. And this is something that I think is really important. Like this is my schedule for the week, right? So you can see different colors, like blue is workout blocks, gray is sleeping or travel, purple is when I'm working with and I'm unavailable for other people because I'm just not available. Green is when I'm doing coaching calls. So this is my calendar. Every minute is assigned a task of what I want to do to be productive. Let me give you guys an example here. One of the favorite players I work with right now is a pitcher at the University of Georgia, potential first-round pick. Here's what his college schedule looks like. He's going to be going into lunch right now. But if you see, and this is during exams, maybe not the ideal week to look at. If we go back a little bit, you'll see here, he's got his morning routine scheduled. He's got his classes scheduled. He's got when he's going to lift. He's got when he's in tutoring, when he's going to be doing schoolwork, when he's doing his PM routine. This is what a SEC Friday night starting pitcher who's most likely going to be a first round pick. This is what it looks like. I'll give you a couple other examples. If we look at Santa Clara, right? Santa Clara baseball, their head coach, Rusty Filter, one of my favorite programs in all of college baseball. Here's an example of one of their players. Now, this is a very detailed example of what his schedule looks like. AM routine, when he's going to be doing his faith work, when he's heading to the field, what he's going to be doing at the field, lifting, preparing for practice, in practice, etc. So here's how detailed he gets. And the reason why this calendar, I'll show you another guy in their program. Let's go to Drake Davis. Let's see what his looks like today. So you can see, not quite as detailed as the other guy, but he'll find out what fits for you with a level of detail. Now, the reason why keeping a calendar is so important is what you schedule gets done. And if you don't have a calendar or your calendar is on a whiteboard in your bedroom or in your office, I would encourage you to take it and put it into Google Calendar. Because one, your Google Calendar, you can set up on your computer, you manage it on your phone during the day. It is always with you. Two, you can share your calendar with other people. to be able to collaborate on things and people know where you are. Maybe not so important right now if you're 18, 19-year-old college baseball player, but I'm not training you to be successful right now. I'm training you to be successful right now and for the rest of your career. And having a Google Calendar and a process where you schedule the things you need to do. You want to meditate? Schedule it. You want to do arm care? Schedule it. You want to go to the training room and get extra work in or an extra lift, or you want to watch more film, or you want to go through a mental performance program, or you want to make sure you have a quality relationship with your teammates, schedule what you're going to do when you're going to do it. And if you can simply take this idea, plan tomorrow, tonight. Success is not accidental. It is intentional. And if you plan tomorrow, tonight, before your head hits the pillow, you wake up tomorrow and now you're playing offense because you have a schedule and you have a plan. I'm working with the University of Oklahoma. They, at the time, they have a player in their program named Kyler Murray. And Kyler is one of the only guys, he is the only guy ever to be a first-round pick in both Major League Baseball and the NFL. I'm there getting ready to work with those guys for, let's see. I'm getting ready to work. So they're having, I'm at Oklahoma that weekend working with the baseball program. Kyler is trying to win the quarterback job the year after Baker Mayfield leaves. He's got a spring football game against Texas. They got a spring football game and a baseball game that night against Texas. And talking to him, just said, man, how do you manage it all? And he's like, I just have to give myself blocks. He goes, we go one play at a time in football, one pitch at a time in baseball. And I map out my day and I go one block at a time in my day. So if you're going to be one of the best in the world in two sports, this is how you have to attack your day. Know where you need to be and what you need to be doing. So that takes us to step 3. And this is probably the most immediate thing that we want to do with you guys is habit share. So with habit share, let's have you go ahead and grab your phones and install that app. And I will grab my phone and walk you through what this looks like. So Alex, so far, any questions on anything as it relates to like a Google Calendar and MVP process, individual and team? Any questions before we dive into habit share?
No, I think we've covered it, and they all have Google Calendar available to them through their school email. So, you know, if they want to share it, do things like that, we should all be pretty connected.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think that the nice part for you as the head coach is if all your players keep a Google Calendar and you have a Scottsdale baseball Google Calendar, you just share your baseball calendar with them. All the baseball activity shows up on their calendar. And now everyone's on the same page. I mean, I can literally go, like I showed you on my calendar, I can go to every single Santa Clara baseball player, every Texas A&M baseball player and see what they're doing. So when I'm on a call with a guy or we're working one-on-one and he goes, man, I just don't feel like I'm performing well. First thing I do is look at your calendar and go, where's your time going? And most of the time they've gotten away from Google Calendar because then they're just drifting through the motions like a boat without a rudder. Instead of I got my rudder, I got my GPS and I'm going at that island to take it over. Let's go. And they start heading in that direction. To me, that's what the MVP process is what's the island? Whoop, what's my path? And then the Google Calendar says, let's go get it. Right. And now what habit share works as is habit share is the GPS. So you could say that I've never put it this way, but this is great. You could say MVP is identifying the island I want to land on. Google Calendar is charting the course. Habit share is like my GPS to help me get there, to get me back on track. Okay. So with habit share, let me show you guys what this looks like. I'm hoping you've downloaded and installed the app. But with habit share, actually, let me play a video. The concept here is called success checklist. So if you have a success checklist, you know what to do, when to do it. And this is basically, like, if we're going to say trust the process, you have to have one. And Corbin Burns, right, when he gets sent down to the minor leagues in 2019 and comes to my house to meet, the one thing that was clear was he had a super talented, super driven, just didn't have a process. He was literally in the ocean of Major League Baseball without the rudder in his boat, putting him on the direction of where to go. Once you give him a plan to follow and a direction to go, the guy's been absolutely crushing it since. And that's why he's an all-star, wins a Cy Young. I mean, the stuff hasn't dramatically improved in 2 years. The process has dramatically improved in 2 years. So what I want you to do here is take a listen to him talking about, or the announcers talking about success checklist and the difference that having that process that he checked off every day has made for him.
I want to follow up on what you guys were talking about with Corbin Burns, just being more locked in and really taking that huge jump. Well, what he says is a big part of that is the mental approach and kind of learning more about what his process is. His agent suggested that he work with sports psychologist Brian Cain, someone who works with a lot of notable athletes, and what Cain was able to help him realize is that he needed more structure to his routine. So he put him through a lot of things. One of those was a mental training program that the Navy SEALs use, but he does this thing now. It's called a success checklist, which is about 25 tasks a week, and it can be as simple as making your bed or doing the laundry, but it's something every single week that he just checks off. And that mental approach, guys, he says is a big reason for what he's been able to do on the mound.
Boom. So what he's talking about is having that success checklist. So I want to walk you guys through, what does a success checklist look like? And then how do we use this as a team? And Coach Alex, the championship teams I've been around, whether it's, Coastal Carolina when they won a national championship, whether it was, my time with Vanderbilt or like this, Florida State softball, Oregon State baseball, Yale lacrosse, all who won national championships in 2018 in a span of about 10 days. Those cultures have three things: clarity, accountability, and support. If you're creating a culture and you want it to be a high performance culture, it requires clarity, accountability, and support. And this is what Habit Share does. So if you guys go into the home button on the bottom left, okay, this is my success checklist. So you can see things like, I want to see the sunrise every day, or 3 days a week. When I do, I check it green. I want my body weight to be under 185, struggling with that right now. My Garmin body battery score was not over 80%, and my sleep score was not over 80%. So I marked those red. This morning, I got up, I did my 1% mobility. I did these different mobility stretches that I'm supposed to do. So I check those green. So this is all this is you identify what are the behaviors that I want to do consistently. These are probably going to come from your MVP process, right? So you put them on your MVP, you schedule when you're going to do them, and you measure whether you do them or not. So this is what I want to do on a consistent basis. And, I'm not as concerned as what you have on there as long as you have a plan. So let me give you an example here of what other people have done. So for example, if we take a look, now let's take a look at Corbin. So right now you'll see he's focused on, again, Cy Young Award winner, make your bed, read the Daily Stoic, read Harvey Dorfman's Mental ABCs of Pitching, go through Brian Cain's 30-day athletes program, call success hotline, listen to a philosopher's note, and optimize. I'm going to share all this with you. Workout, rehab and recovery, date night with his wife, calm meditation in Brian Cain's podcast. So with the nice part about the friends tab here, Alex, is what I would encourage that you guys all do on the call and as a program is when you click add, you add all the players in the program. So all you would do is you basically, if you guys are already remote and not with each other, is just in a group text or something, send off an Excel sheet to have everyone's email that they use to sign up for this Habit Share app, put them in there. And now you can see, and they can see everybody who's in there. What I have to do, so if anybody here who's on the call live, let's see who the winner is, man. Go up and click add friend and type in Brian at briancain.com. Let's see who wins. So go up to the top right, hit the add button. You're going to add a friend, Brian at briancain.com. Let's see who the winner is. Let's also take a look at Coach Abe Alvarez, former Long Beach State All-American. Abe Alvarez went from the draft to the big leagues with the Boston Red Sox faster than any player in baseball or Red Sox history. How about that? So here's what he's doing as a college pitching coach, listening to the podcast, reading the 30-day, making his bed, spending time with Faith, hitting the Peloton and workout, 37-day challenge. He's reading, taking vitamins, doing a concentration grid, calling success hotline. We got a friend in. Keno, first guy in. Beautiful. So I'm going to click on yes. Do I want to add him as a friend? And then I'm going to scroll down. And here's what I have to do. I have to now turn on all my habits so you can see those. So you create your habits, you add your friends, and then you share them. Let me give you those three habits, that three-step process again. Number one, you create your habits in Habit Share. Number two, you add your friends. Number three, you share your habits with your friends. Now, how many habits should you have? Well, we're going to go into a list of what I think you should have here. So let's take a look. what I think you should have when we're talking about habit share as a college baseball player, if I were to say this is the ideal list
there's so much data
of what to have, it would be here. So with habit share, what should you have? I would say make your bed times 7. Navy SEALs do it. Cy Young Award winners do it. So we should do it too. The second thing is listen to my Mental Performance Daily podcast. And again, if you click on this link, it's literally 3 minutes a day where I talk with you. Today was 2 minutes where I talk to you about an aspect of mental performance. So you get a little bit, a lot. You get to hear from me. If you listen to this, if you leave me a rating and a 5-star review only, leave me a 5-star review if you would, please, and a rating. I would love to hear your feedback on the podcast. Second thing you're going to do, right? Corbin Burns talked about execution and reading Harvey Dorfman's book, The Mental ABCs of Pitching, in the execution chapter between starts. Well, I took that execution chapter and I turned it into a podcast. So again, if you click on that link in the notes and you just listen to this execution chapter, you are going to be able to hear this chapter from the Mental ABCs of Pitching. This is what the book, The Mental ABCs of Pitching, looks like. I just literally read the chapter from the book on execution. I think it's so good. Maybe the best thing I've ever read in the mental game of baseball as a pitcher. Definitely worth looking at on at least a weekly basis. So again, that link to both of those podcasts is here. Other things you'd put down: how many days a week am I doing arm care? How many days a week am I going to lift and work out? How many days a week am I doing hitting drills or doing my mobility? And then you add to whatever else you want to add. Other things for you to do, fellas. I put down links to 3 things. One, I did a podcast with Corbin where this is in the middle of the season this past year when he won the Heisman. Yeah. Where he won the Cy Young Award. And you're going to hear him talk about like his daily routines, his daily success checklist and habit share, how he uses mental ABCs of pitching, what he learned from UFC champion George St. Pierre, and other things here that we do that you can do. The other resources, I made a master class in the mental game of baseball. You just come here and sign up. It's a free 45-minute class on the mental game of baseball that I think you guys would enjoy. And then I did a podcast with Sean Casey of the MLB Network, Michael Kadire, who was the 2013 NL batting champion with the Rockies, and Zach Sorensen, who is the mental performance coach with the Braves. So here's a podcast I did with those 3 guys, and you can listen to that here. Says a position player. So there's your list of things to do to continue to grow the mental game as we win the winter. And here is a list of things that should be in your college baseball habit share. I'm going to add one more called optimize. I'm going to put that as times 1+. Okay. So optimize, and I'm going to link that here. Optimize is an app where you get cliff notes on books. So coach, I would have you, look at this app. And what I'm doing right now with a lot of the college baseball teams I work with is they go through and they pick one book a week. They get it in 20-minute audio format, a summary. They listen to it. We talk about it. So for example, if I were to put in here a book schedule, right? Because leaders are readers. I have here a book schedule that I follow with all my clients. So every one of my clients knows, okay, this is the book of the week that we're going through. This is what I'm going to be accountable to talk with Brian about when we're on our call. So if you guys click on this link, you'll see here, like this week, which is December 13th, we're going through the book No Limits by Michael Phelps. Next week, we're going through Die Empty. The next week, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And when you click on this link here, it takes you to where you would sign in and get this. Again, 20-minute cliff notes on some of the best books ever. So as you're in your car, as you're doing cardio, as you're playing video games, whatever, pick one book and go through it. And there's some of the, again, the books that are in there are like Pete Carroll, Win Forever, fantastic. The book Legacy about the New Zealand All Blacks, fantastic. Conor McGregor's book, Win or Learn, tremendous. So I want you to go through some of those, maybe one a week or one a month, whatever you feel like will fit best for you. Last thing to share with you today. We talked about set your goals with your personal and team MVP process. We talk about scheduling it in Google Calendar, measuring it with habit share. And what habit share also does, right, is it creates the 3 keys that every culture has is clarity. What do I need to do? How often? 2, support. What are my teammates doing? And they can see me. And then they can, on the friends tab, and they can provide accountability. All championship cultures have those 3 things. Habit share helps us create those three things. Now, last piece here of the 4-step goal formula. At the end of the week, I want you to reflect and refocus. This is part of the reflection process, right? When we talked about that 3-step performance process, I prepare, I perform, I reflect. Well, let's take a look at what Kobe Bryant says about the importance of reflection.
What does losing feel like to you?
It's exciting.
Why is
Okay, right? So Kobe gets asked by Lewis Howes in the School of Greatness podcast, what does losing feel like to you? And he says, exciting. What? Let's take a listen.
it exciting?
Because it means you have different ways to get better. There's certain things that you can figure out that you can take advantage of, right? Certain weaknesses that were exposed that you need to shore up, right? So it was exciting. I mean, it sucks to lose.
Right.
But at the same time, there are answers there.
Love this, right? So I love the part that Kobe says, okay, it's exciting, but it sucks. What does that mean? It makes it neutral. Neutral. Let's talk about neutral thinking real quick, and we'll come back to Kobe. Okay. Neutral thinking in baseball is a weapon. If I take this coin, here's heads, here's tails, but I can balance the coin on the side, right? So if I were to ask you how many sides does a coin have, the answer is 3: heads, tails, and the rim, right? Just like how many attitudes can you take? 3: positive, negative, neutral. And neutral means it's exciting to lose, but it still sucks. Neutral. Neutral means I'm in control of myself. I don't get too high. I don't get too low. I stay here, consistent. That's the mentality we want to compete in baseball from, a consistent, neutral mentality. Again, staying with Kobe. He says losing sucks, but what do we learn from it? Here we go.
If you just look at them.
Because you get the information from losing more than from winning, probably.
Yeah. I mean, the answers are there when you win, too. You just have to look at them.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a constant process. It's exciting when you win. It's exciting when you lose, because the process should be exactly the same, whether you win or you lose. As you go back and you look and you find things that you could have done better. You find things that you've done well that worked. You figure out how did they work? Why did they work? How can you make them work again?
Yeah. Let's hit that last part again. Okay. He's talking about whether you win or you lose, whether you pitch well or pitch lousy, whether you play good or play bad. Well, how do I learn from it? Let's take a listen.
Whether you win or you lose, as you go back and you look and you find things that you could have done better. You find things that you've done well that worked. You figure out how did they work? Why did.
Boom. So Kobe Bryant, whether he knows it or not, is taking us through the 4th step of the 4-step goal formula: reflect and refocus. The reflect and refocus questions: what did I do well? What do I want to do better? How am I going to do it? And Coach Alex, how I'll use these 3 questions, like if I were coming in, say, to work with Scottsdale Community College in person, or I'm going to Texas A&M in March when they open up in the SEC, first SEC weekend series with LSU. So when I go to that series, before I go in, like on Tuesday, I will send a Google form survey to every player and staff in the program and say, individually, for you as a person, what are you doing well? What do you want to do better? How are you planning to do it? And then I'll say, as a team, what are we doing well? What can we do better? And how are we going to do it? And I'll ask the pitchers to talk specific for pitching. I'll ask the position players to talk specific for position play, and the coaches to talk about the overall picture of the culture of the team. And what that does for me as I go in, I review all that information on the plane, and now I have a game plan when I go in for each person and for the entire team, pitchers, position players, and culture-wise. So the well, better, how helps me create that plan. So to summarize, before we jump into some questions here, 4-step goal formula to give you the best chance for success, to close the gap from where you are to where you want to be. 1, set your intention. Like, where do you want to go? Life vision. Where do you want to go in the next quarter, or this winning the winter, right? The next 90 days. Step 2, schedule it. Put it on your Google Calendar. Don't tell me how big your goals are. Show me when you're going to dedicate the time of your life, which is your most precious resource, to what your goals are. Show me your calendar. We'll dictate your future. Step 3, habit share. Measure how often you actually take action in the behaviors that you want to close that gap from where you are to where you want to be. Some of those behaviors are 7 days a week, like Make Your Bed Mental Performance Daily podcast. Some might be 2 days a week, like arm care or mobility, whatever it is. But schedule it on habit share, or schedule it on your calendar, measure it on habit share, and share that with your teammates. In step 4, once a week, reflect and refocus. Ask yourself, what am I doing well? What do I want to do better? How am I going to do it? That's the 4-step goal formula. We have a MVP process individually and an MVP process as a program to help us with the culture for the program and for myself individually. Just kind of, last thing, I think, as you guys may or may not know, let's go into questions. I was going to share a video of Gary Gilmore, the baseball coach at Coastal Carolina, when they won the national championship. Alex, as you probably know, but your players might not, is when you win the national championship in Division I college baseball, you are the first speaker at the National Baseball Coaches Convention in January. So Gary Gilmore, they win the national championship in 16. So January of 17, he's the first speaker at the ABCA National Convention. What's he talk about? He talks about a culture that we worked to create in October of 2009. I went there. We worked together in October 2009. 6 seasons later in 2016, they win the national championship. It starts with a vision. It starts with who you are. Let me show that video. It's so good. I got to now that I just pumped it up. Let me show you this video here of Coach Gary Gilmore talking about at the national after they win the national championship, and he's the first speaker at the national convention. Here's what he's talking about. So there's us at the convention. This is what he's talking about. This document here, their culture, selfless and relentless, 2 core principles. How many do you need? That's up for you to decide. They have 2. TCU is selfless, energy, and excellence. Coastal has 2 2016 national champions, selfless and relentless, created October 5th, 2009. There's their locker room when they got their facility redone, selfless and relentless around the Shant head in the locker room. Here's Coach Gilmore talking about culture at the 2017 National Baseball Coaches Convention.
Brian Cain. I'm sure a lot of you have heard his name. Brian Cain came into our program in 2010, made an incredible influence on our program. There are a lot of things that we have and things I'm going to show you here in a few minutes that he is responsible for, and I will be forever grateful to him. The next thing in developing a sound strategy is that you've got to create a sense of ownership. Well, right here is one of Brian Cain's handyman works right here. He came up with 2 mantra words for us, selfless and relentless. And the way he did it when he first met with us, we spent 4 hours in a room. And if you can imagine a group of baseball players in a room for 4 hours, no one got up to pee, no one left the room, they're locked in for 4 hours. We've got 2 dry erase boards, the length of the classroom we're in. And Brian has each kid write down, as well as each coach, write down 5 words that describe what a Coastal baseball player is. Every guy had to stand up, call out their 5 words. He wrote them all on the board. And then at the end, he started mixing and matching. This one means this, and this. And at the end of 4 hours, we became a selfless and relentless organization. From that moment on, we have been that. Every single day, it's all we ever talk about. They took and put those into what it looks like when you're in a classroom, when you're in school, when you're in the community, all the different settings that you can be in as a baseball player. How do you show yourself as being selfless and relentless? The kids and he did this. It's who they want to be. Not who I say they need to be. It's who they say they want to be. That's their ownership. When we ever have an issue with being selfless or relentless, I use that to throw back at them. You guys, this is what you said you wanted to be. If you don't act like that, then that's when I have a problem with you.
So you can see something that we did, right? This is not a magic pill. This is not a quick fix. This is a system. This is a process. This is a journey. A meeting we had in October of 2009 helps them win a national championship in 2016. Because it was a meeting about culture, a meeting about what are the behaviors that are above the line and below the line in this program? What is a vision for our program? Without a vision, the people perish. If they didn't talk about winning a national championship a lot because you only compete for that one day of the year. They talked about every day giving a national championship type effort, paying a national championship type of detail to what we're doing now to win the moment. Being selfless and relentless today is what was going to help them get to Omaha and win a national championship, and it did. Do the same for you when you identify those core principles for yourself. It'll give you the best chance for success, and we identify those as a program. So, Coach Alex, I'm going to bring you in here, man. Any biggest kind of takeaways for you from today's call?
Where to start? I think all the stuff that we've been doing with Mike has sort of led us to this point, and I think that this is really sort of a pivotal moment, certainly for this team. and let's stay with this team. I think that what we've done is we've put ourselves in a position now to identify what we're doing, and now we're going to identify how we're going to do it and how we're going to about it. And we've talked about a lot of this stuff, but now it's organizing it for ourselves, and it's giving ourselves the roadmap and that GPS, as you talked about, to go forward. We all know what our goal is. Our goal is to win a national championship. We've talked about that a lot, but now, we have to start thinking, in shorter blocks. And I think it's really going to give us a chance to move forward. And I'm excited to see what we're going to come up with.
Yeah. Start thinking in microscopes, right? Of the things that we're trying to do today.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Awesome. Beautiful. Well, Coach, I got to bounce to another call, but it was great to have you guys on today, and great to get a chance to spend some time with you. And hopefully I'll be able to make the journey, a couple miles from the house and to come see you guys practice or play at some point this spring, man. I'd love to meet you all in person.
We would love to have that, and can't thank you enough.
Awesome. Alex, thanks for having me, fellas. Great to see you guys. Happy holidays. And let's make sure that we absolutely get after it.
Absolutely.
Dominate the day. See you guys.
Thanks, Brian. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.